Hey, my name's Mike. I'm a developer from Philadelphia, and in this video, I'm going to be walking you through running Hello World in Microsoft Visual Studio Code. We'll take a look at the following key concepts, including installing Microsoft Visual Studio Code, adding a C and C++ language extension, and then also compiling and running our Hello World C++ program. So let's get started. Now, the instructions for installing Microsoft Visual Studio Code are very similar for both Windows and Mac. I'm on a Mac right now, but if you're on Windows, you should be able to follow along just fine. So we're going to head over here to Google and just type in Visual Studio Code, and up should pop this link for code.visualstudio.com. We're going to click that, and then this should have a button here for either Mac or Windows. If you're on a Windows, it'll say download for Windows. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to download it for Mac. Once that is downloaded, we're going to want to click on the file and we're going to want to actually install it on our machine. So that just finished downloading. I'm going to open the file up. Now, if you're on a Mac like me, you should just get Visual Studio Code, the actual application here, exported into your downloads folder. If you're on Windows, you're going to have to walk through a installer. Now, all you have to do is just go through the installer, click through, and keep all the default options, and then it'll be installed on your computer and you'll be able to get going. If you're on Mac, you can just take this and you're going to drag it over to the applications folder, and now it's an app on your machine. So now that we have that, we're going to open it. So I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to search for Visual Studio Code, and we'll open this up. So this is what it looks like. And Visual Studio Code is essentially a text editor. So it's very similar to something like Microsoft Word or Notepad or TextEdit that you have on your normal computer, except this is a text editor that is designed for programmers and by programmers. So a lot of professional programmers, myself included, actually use a program like this, which we would call an IDE, in order to do all of their programming. So you'll notice over here on my desktop that I have this hello.c++ file. And so our goal is going to be to open this up, and we're actually going to run it from within Visual Studio Code. So you'll see here it says no folder open. So we want to click open folder. You can also come up here to file and you can say add folder to workspace. And what we're going to do is we're going to add my desktop. So essentially you can add a folder here into Visual Studio Code and it'll allow you to see all those files from within the program. So I'm going to click add, and then you'll see over here I have desktop and hello.c++. So here is our hello program. Now down here you'll see that it has a pop-up. It says the C++ extension is recommended for this file type. Basically, with Visual Studio Code, you can install a number of extensions which allow Visual Studio Code to work well with the language that you're using. So in our case, there's an extension available for us. So you can either click the install button down here. If this pop-up doesn't show up though, you can come up here to preferences, go to extensions, and then we're just going to type in C/C++, and it should be the first one that pops up. So we can actually install these extensions. So right here, I'm going to click, you can see 14 million downloads. This is obviously very popular. You're going to click install, or you can click the install button down here, and then you're going to click reload to activate. So we're going to reload our Visual Studio instance, and now we should be able to work with C and C++ files, no problem. Now that we've done that, I want to show you guys how we can actually run this from within Visual Studio Code. So I've opened up here the workspace that has my file in it. So I opened up my desktop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spawn the terminal from inside of Visual Studio Code. So you can come up here and click terminal and click on new terminal. And there's also a keyboard shortcut over here that you can also use. I'm just going to hit new terminal, and this should automatically open the terminal to the directory that is currently open. So in our case, it's opening to the desktop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to compile and run my C++ program like I normally would. So I can say G++, and then the name of the file, hello.cpp, and I'm going to hit enter. This is going to generate my A file, so then we can run this a.out. There we go. So we've run our C++ program, and we now have everything working in Visual Studio Code. The one thing I like about Visual Studio Code is you have all of your files over here on the left, then you have your text editor, and then you have your terminal down here at the bottom. I find that to be a very, very good layout for writing programs. Anyway, that's going to do it for me in this video. I want to say thank you so much for watching. From all of us here at Code Academy, I've been Mike, and happy coding.